Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Meta Chasers. This is your weekly tournament rundown show of the biggest and best tournaments coming up all over the world for the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and it's a big one. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
G'day, everybody.
And Dustin Henshaw.
G'day, everyone.
Welcome to the show, and great to see some folks in chat. If you're just joining us on the podcast aggregators, know that we do this live each and every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We actually just put up part 2 of last week's episode on our Patreon for tier 2 subscribers and above, so lots of content we do every single week. Welcome to the chat, everybody. Nurgle Matt, I see you there. John Shaves, welcome. Astro Max, Joel, from the beginning. KR, Snow Days. Hope you all are having a great start to maybe what is a weekend? I don't know. It's Thursday.
It's a weekend for Adam soon.
Yeah, it's Friday. It's Friday, 11 a.m. It's not far away. I can see it.
And it is a bright one. So we have 3 team tournaments to talk about this episode, and we're going to do that rundown a little bit differently because of them being team tournaments. We're going to run through the events. We're going to talk, of course, what we see there, what we expect to see there, what the trends are looking. Death Guard, maybe. But we're going to run down the faction breakdown combined towards the end, and then we're going to get into a little bit of silliness. If you're new here, be prepared. How are y'all doing this afternoon, evening, morning, whatever it is? I've lost. Time is relative as we spiral on this mud ball through the ever expanding universe.
It's not silly at the end, Paul. It's not silly, man. We're getting to the crux of everything that we've been working towards the last couple episodes.
I'm here for it.
I am pretty dang good. Very excited for the meta as it stands at the moment. These 3 team events are actually going to be very interesting to unpack. And yeah, like Paul said, they're all 5-player team events. So at the end, I combined the stats from all 3 into one breakdown. Of course, we have all the individual breakdowns that you've come to love and expect from our great show. And then yeah, at the end, all 3 I've added together into one big old pile to give us a sense of the international, teams, perspective on things.
What people think the meta is like right now for teams at the very least. Like with 5-man teams, you generally only take the best of the best. It's not like 8 where you can have a couple faction specialists kind of squeezed in there. 5 is really lean a lot of the time.
Yeah, it is. But there's a couple of these breakdowns that will surprise because there's a bunch. There's a couple of factions that are missing entirely or on the upper end when I thought they'd be on the middle end, and then ones that I thought would be right up there that are not at all.
Well, then let's get to it because I'm curious to see what these numbers
First event we're going to be talking about is Casale 40K teams Alpine Cup from Casale, Italy, with 130 players and 26 teams of 5 competing over 5 rounds. So gonna be people swinging for the fences, if you ask me. That's the only way to do it to get out of here is number 1. What are we going to see there?
For the Imperial Super Faction, there are 2 Sisters of Battle, 11 Custodes, 3 Admech, 3 Astra Militarum, 6 Grey Knights, 11 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, 4 Astartes, 1 Dark Angel, 2 Space Wolves, 3 Blood Angels, and 1 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 10 Chaos Space Marines, 1 T-Sun, 7 Death Guards, 6 World Leaders, 9 Emperor's Children, 10 Demons, and 4 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 7 Necrons, 5 Orcs, 4 Tau, 4 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 5 Tyranids, 2 Geniuses they're called. In Eldari, there is a single Drukhari and then 8 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is Custodes and Imperial Knights, and technically total Astartes, topping it off with 11, which is still not 50% of the field for a team event, so not 50% representation of anything. Then CSM and Demons at 10, and then Emperor's Children at 9.
Now, this is the one I mentioned. This is quite wild. The first thing that jumped out to me was ridiculously low Astra Militarum representation for what I think their position in teams is, as I think they're one of the best teams lists in the game, depending on how you want to build it. Actually, doesn't really matter how you want to build it. Mechanized Assault, Combined Regiment, or Hammer of the Emperor, they're all incredible and have a place in teams 40K, but only 3 out of 26 possible placings, only 3 is ridiculously low. I mean, they're doubled out by Grey Knights. Grey Knights have 6, they only have 3. So that was the first thing that slapped me in the face, is like, this is quite weird. And then the second one is the Chaos Space Marines. Well, so we assume Chaos Space Marine players and dedicated Heretic Astartes players kind of play all varieties of the Heretic Astartes, Empress Children, World Eaters.
Seems to be the case.
Yeah, except in this one is skewing the trend completely in that those players are going back to Chaos Space Marines rather than jumping on the new hotness. But despite that, there's still very healthy numbers for Death Guard, World Eaters, and Empress Children. So Is it just attracting more and more players to the Heretic Astartes, or is this just how many there are and they've gone with the old reliable CSM?
I think it's even more meta than that, is that these players know that this is the last weekend of a very tight month for us.
That's right. That's right.
With our faction predictions, and they're making it especially hard out there.
Making it impossible, apparently.
With these curveballs. But that is, I think you're exactly right, is that there are some, I mentioned this kind of just, of course, as being slightly facetious, but, Death Guard, I expected to be out in huge mass,
Same.
because of one, Europe,
Same.
we know a seat of Death Guard. Death Guard is incredibly powerful right now, putting up a lot of representation out there in the events and, notably missing from this event as well.
And
to the degree that I thought it might be.
Right.
so if I was the CTO and someone put a gun to my head and said, Adam, what's the majority identity of the world meta of the last 3 to 6 months, I would have said it's Xenos heavy. And most of that is in the numbers of Necrons and Orc players. Of course, Orcs getting massive lifts out of the Tactical Brigade when that was first launched at Grotmus, and then again with more DACA. Now, those numbers, Xenos numbers, are actually plummeting in Italy. So 7 for Necrons is the lowest we've seen in a very long time, especially at a team event where Necrons kind of get the best of all worlds. Doesn't really matter how you build them. They can skew any direction and dodge a couple of red matchups and are absolutely fine. Orcs is another one that has just been on an absolute roller coaster. The Orc meta has been a roller coaster for the last 12 months. And then Tau and Votann. Votann just bubbles away with medium representation, but very good results. And Tau is kind of on the cusp of finding a really good teams build. And a lot of people are talking about the Kroot archetype, as in like you're taking, this is Awakened Dynasty, but it's just all Kroot. It's
600 units that all do something, it's...
Yeah. All have incredible OC, all can have field mode pains, all move fast, scout, or infiltrate. Yeah. So it's very interesting, this breakdown. And then what else was interesting was that it's actually quite low on the Astartes numbers. Only 11 teams out of 26 took Astartes, not even half, the same number as Imperial Knights and Custodes. So this is a very interesting meta. To that end, I did pull out 2 of the detachment breakdowns for 2 of the notable factions. First and foremost, I wanted to have a look in at Custodes. I always like to see what's brewing for the Custodes, and it's kind of what we expect. So of the 11 Custodes in attendance, 7 are playing Lines of the Emperor, 2 are Shield Host, and 2 are Solar Spearhead. And I suppose it's good that they still have that flex. They can flex into the Solar Spearhead or still take the more well-rounded, possibly Caladius heavy Shield Host. But that doesn't surprise anybody, does it? 7 Lions out of 11.
I mean, that's still 2 more Shield Hosts than I was expecting.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I tend to think Shield Host is a better all-comers, or as good in all-comers. Like in singles, I think Shield Host and Lions are fairly even. But in teams, I would have said Lions was hands down better.
Lions or Solar. I do rate the Solar Spearhead in teams for sure.
Well, see, yeah, exactly right, because they represent your two lines of the axis, right? Where Lions of the Emperor is pretty much exclusively playing with infantry, just as many infantry as you can take, and Solar Spearhead's playing the opposite, where you're playing the dreads and the tanks as much as you can take. And then Shield Host is kind of the midpoint between the two, where you still want to take like 2 Caladius grav tanks and some bits and pieces, whilst windmill slamming your same Warden bricks and stuff like that you do everywhere. So, but yeah, Shield Host was the interesting inclusion there. Then I pulled out the Chaos Space Marine detachment breakdown. Now, this was very surprising. When I saw 10 Chaos Space Marines, I assumed I was going to see a majority for one detachment, like they were picking one ideology or one identity to play into. And I assumed just off the cuff that was going to be Creations of Bile or Renegade Raiders. One of those ones was going to be over and above the other. Because of course, if you want the more melee pressure build, you go Creations of Bile. If you want more the, techie, janky trading army, you'll go Renegade Raiders. But of the 10 in attendance, 3 were Renegade Raiders, 3 were Creations of Bile, 3 were Pact Bound Zealots, and then there was a single lad playing Fellhammer Siege Host. Because why not? Let's just go. But how does that look to you boys? Because that is real spicy.
I love seeing that. That makes me very happy to see the Renegade Raiders. I always rated Creation of Bile. Obviously, that one's a pretty popular one, especially for teams because of the really heavy pressure of melee it gives, and it's very hard to deal with if you pair it into the right pairing. And if you get the paired with like World Leaders on your team, if you go into defenders that cannot deal with melee pressure, they're in trouble. Pac-Man Zealots is interesting too. That's the one that's really heavy on the accursed bricks, right? The AC/DC.
It used to. It's not as much anymore. It actually plays. Actually, usually totes 10 to 20 possessed now. In addition to
So
but
similar
that
to
one, yeah, it's not too dissimilar. But it plays a lot more janky. Has a bit more X factor and can play a shooting game a lot better than Crescents of Bile.
Yeah,
I
that
had
makes
to
sense.
I had to look up the Fellhammer Siege Host. This is the detachment rule is each time a ranged attack targets a heretic Astartes unit from your army, excluding damned units. If the strength characteristic of that attack is greater than the toughness characteristic of that unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So I think they are obviously preparing for things like the knights on the other side of the table.
All these armies that have really good anti-marine profiles suddenly get a little less efficient.
That's correct. That's correct. Now, one of the reasons I assumed Renegade Raiders was going to be, leading the way, possibly because depending on the rulings made at this event, Noise Marines plus Renegade Raiders is just a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Where when you're allying in the new Noise Marines profiles, in addition to Renegade Raiders, like to play that Rhino heavy trading style, where here's a bunch of quality trading pieces of various different. You got your legionaries, your chosen, and then you have the shooting support in the form of either Vindies, Preds, or now Noise Marines. And so I would have assumed that was going to be on the higher end, but nah, we have an even 3-way split between detachments, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, which is great for the meta. I love seeing that.
Superb.
Renegade Raiders is still one that I think is the best all comers. The other three, actually no, just Creations of Bile and Pac-Bound definitely are more of the team focus lists. They can do well in singles, but they're built for teams. So it's not surprising to see them in higher numbers you'd normally see them, I think, in singles events.
All right, time to pick some winners.
Okay, this is important.
It really is.
So
this is huge.
I think, in spirit of making sure Adam doesn't go another donut month, you get to pick first on all of these events.
No. We take turns.
No excuses.
No, we take turns. We do it as we always do. And I was actually going to say, because Paul wasn't here last week, he should pick
that's
first.
fair. No, Paul, yeah, that makes
week.
sense. That's fair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But don't play Blood Angels.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Demons.
That's a good pick. That is a very good pick.
That's a quality pick. Dustin, you can go next.
I'm going to go CSM.
That's also a strong pick. And I am going to go with the Imperial Knights.
I'm leaving the door open for you.
There you go. See?
Thank you, boys. Generous. Benevolent.
That's right.
No, you're never stuck with Blood Angels KR. Like you are. The Astartes didn't even get on the podium last week, I don't think, for the events that were covered. So
no, Astartes did not. So they did on one, but it wasn't the one we covered. They did at Dallas.
Well, sure. But I mean, the ones we covered for the ones that would have been eligible, even if we had expanded the meme pick a bit. But I never feel stuck with Blood Angels. Next event we're going to be covering is the Bugeater 40K teams from Omaha, Nebraska. That's here in the U.S. 100 players in 20 teams of 5. That's an event that has been around for a long time. I don't know that it's always been a team event. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no, it hasn't always been a team event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, 100 players, 20 teams of 5, competing over 5 rounds. Dustin, what are we going to see there?
We will be seeing in the Imperial Superfaction there is a singles. This is a battle, 7 Custodes, 1 Admech, 5 Astra Militarum, 2 Grey Knights, and 5 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 5 Adeptus Astartes, 5 Dark Angels, 1 Space Wolf, 1 Blood Angel, and 1 Death Watch. 0 Chaos Space Marines, 1 T-Sun, 7 Death Guard, 8 World Leaders, 3 Emperor's Children, 4 Demons, and 8 Chaos Knights. That's wild.
That's loyalist country.
Apparently. But even then, the numbers aren't that much higher. Oh, wow. Okay. Whoops. And then there's Xenos, there's 7 Necrons, 4 Orcs, 3 Tau, 2 Votan. Hive Mind, there's got to be 50 Tyranids here. It's Bugeater, right? You got to be lots of them, but there's 7 Tyranids here in the 2G, so they're called Eldari, there's 3 Drukhari, and 7 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is technically total Astartes, topping it off with 13, and then World Eaters and Chaos Knights at 8, Eldari, Nids, Krons, Death Guard, Custodes at 7, Astra Militarum, Imperial Knights, Astartes, and Dark Angels at 5. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Beautiful. That's all I got to say about it.
11 factions, excluding Total Astartes, 11 factions making our faction podium.
Still
is
not
a thing
quite
of
the
beauty.
biggest one, but it's up
No,
there. It's
not
up
far off. 11 is pretty dang good.
We're very happy with 11.
It's about
Yeah.
half. It's about half the factions. Playable
That's it.
factions.
Yeah.
And
About
Death Guard
half.
being at 7 makes Nurgle proud.
Well, World Eaters at 8 as well, actually.
That's true. That's funny.
Yeah. Now, this is what I expect to see of on my Chaos Super faction is Chaos Space Marines down, all the Heretic Astartes legions up. Which was the opposite in Italy, and now is even more extreme than I expected in Nebraska,
But
the States.
Still just
Where
a
there's-
single 1,000 sun in both of these events.
Yeah, I guess they're just biding their time, waiting for that codex, right?
Thanks at this point, right? Why I don't want to play this old one. I got all this new stuff coming.
Yeah. And that can't be far off from being included into the meta. It should be a week of next week at like the latest. But team events do take a little bit longer for adoption. So usually maybe they had a rules cutoff. That was a fortnight ago. We don't know. But yeah, 7 Death Guard, 8 World Eaters.
No one knows how long a fortnight is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a mystery. It's how long is a piece of string? Still people refuse to get back on the Adeptus Sororitas bus, despite innumerable enhancements and buffs over the past 3 months. There's still just like a destitute for faction representation. This one also quite low on the Grey Knights as well. Adeptus Mechanicus sitting where it always sits. The Astartes breakdown is interesting. I would not have expected Dark Angels to be taken as much as Adeptus Astartes. If I had to guess, and Paul's going to love this, I always assume Blood Angels is going to be the second most or equal most taken of the Astartes subfaction. But this one only a single, which is very interesting, which tells me, because when I see Blood Angels, I assume in teams you're playing a more proactive differential getter. And when I see Dark Angels and, vanilla Astartes, I assume you're playing much more of the stable 12-8 game. No one's really going to blow me out, and I'm probably going to get some comfortable wins kind of marine archetypes where you have that high durability either via hulls in ultramarines with all the ballistas and the vindicators, or you're playing it durability via Terminator with Deathwing Knights, etc. So it is interesting to see 5 and 5 for Dark Angels and Astartes. But I have one detachment breakdown. I haven't dropped, have I? You guys can still hear me?
Nope,
No, yeah. World Eaters.
Sweet.
We're just listening to you talk, man.
You were quiet for a bit, and I get worried.
Got worried.
World Eaters detachment breakdown. Of the 8 in attendance, 6 are boring so-and-sos, still playing Berserker Warband. 2 spicy boys are playing that Khorne Demonkin. Now, I'm of the opinion there are 3 very playable World Eaters detachment, and the least spicy is the Berserker Warband. If you're a World Eater,
but you have the models, you're already there. You are gonna
come on. You have Bloodletters as a World Eater player, right? You've been playing 7.
That's fair.
7.
Actually, I take it back. There's 4 playable detachments because you could play the 8-bound detachment as well. So the 8-bound detachment, the Gortrak, the Rhino Rush, Berserkers, the Berserker Warband, and the Khorne Demonkin. I think there's 4 playable teams lists that you can wield, and they're all just still playing the same crap.
Getting Scarbrand and some Forge Fiends and stuff like that.
Yeah, dude. So the Khorne Demonkin, I think, is such a spicy take in teams. They've got one of the best stratagems in the freaking game, where when anything dies, you can on turns. What is it? 2 and 3, I think, or is it 1, 2, 3? I can't remember. It's either way. But either way, you just like, oh, cool. I killed those 5 scouts, 5 of your scouts, and I'm going to turn those into Bloodletters. Now I've got 10 Bloodletters where your scouts were, and flipped an objective, going to harass a flank, going to cause a problem. Huge fan of Khorne Demonkin. I think it's so spicy,
and they could be within like almost an inch of things. There's almost no restrictions as long as within 9 inches of where that thing died. Right?
Yep,
it's insane.
6 away from your opponent. Yeah, 9 inches from where that unit died. It's very open ended, very judicious. You kind of do whatever you want with it.
So charge after it. It's just Juicy. I love that kind of stuff. I love
So
it.
good, so good. But it is interesting that I think people are getting a bit of a lease on life on the Berserker Warband, because as far as I can tell, the majority aren't taking Angron. So in their Berserker Warband, they kind of just got 400 points to play with, even though they got some reskinned aspects here and there in enhancements and stratagems. It plays pretty much the same way, but they've got a handful of more pieces to play with. So it is changing the internal metrics of how that list functions in teams quite a bit. In teams, I would assume, back in the day, Angron was always the go-to. In teams, Angron was fantastic, and now that you take him kind of less often, it could be an interesting thing to see how their matrices are turning up.
Yeah, it's actually, well, I'm not gonna lie either. I love the World Eater Rhino rule. I think that's one of the
Dorian just mentioned less Angron, more rhinos. I paraphrased the comment a bit, but that was
yeah, that's pretty much what it is, right? But a reactive disembark for World Eaters, that's so World Eaters. I love that.
Juicy. In saying that, though, it's time to pick some winners. And Dustin, you get to go first.
I get to go first. Oh, well, I can't pick Tyranids because everybody's eating them, apparently.
It is Bugeater. Yes, they are.
It is absolutely Bugeater, right? Where are we? We are in Nebraska.
That's close to Canada.
Is it? No, it's not.
I think it is.
Is it 2 states? Is it 1 or 2 states down from the border?
I'm going to look after I pick my faction because I'm curious now. I'm going to be a little spicy this one. I'm going to go Chaos Knights.
CK. I'll go next. I'll go the World Eaters.
Yep.
Paulie boy, what would you like?
Eldari.
Ooh.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, looking at Nebraska, it's two states down. So you got North Dakota.
It's the 3rd state down.
Yeah. So you've got 2 states
almost
from the border.
Dead center of America, almost.
It is, yeah. And you've got the Dakotas between you and the border.
So I mean, is it close to Canada? I don't know. How big is 2 states? Is that close?
Well, how long even is a fortnight? I don't know.
How long is a fortnight? How long is a state? Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
Mighty big out there. That was.
All right, boys. Next one.
Manchester team tournament from Manchester, England. 100 players, 20 teams of 5 competing over 5 rounds. What are we going to see there?
For the Imperial Super faction, there are 8 Custodes, 1 Admech, 8 Astra Militarum, 4 Grey Knights, and 6 Imperial Knights. That seems a little light, actually. Interesting. Space Marines are 6 Astartes, 1 Dark Angel, 5 Blood Angels, 2 Black Templar, and 2 Death Watch. Chaos is 4 Chaos Space Marines, 10 Death Guard, 4
Warriors, they are.
6 Emperor's Children, 6 Demons, and 3 Chaos Knights. Xenos is 4 Necrons, 2 Orcs, 4 Tau, and 3 Votan Hive Mind. There is 4 Tyranids and a single Gene Circle, but we're still in representation. Eldari, there's 4 Drukhari here, and then 5 Eldari, almost outnumbering the Eldari there. Meaning the faction podium is technically total Astartes at 16, which is well over the halfway mark, by the way. 20. So, and then Death Guard right on the 50% mark with 10, Custodes and Astra Militarum at 8, and then Imperial Knights, Astartes, Demons, and Emperor's Children at 6. What do you boys think?
Not a bad breakdown here. We're still getting a bunch of factions on our top 3. The Astra Militarum numbers are what I expect. That's the Astra Militarum numbers I expected for these 3 events. I would have said there was close to 50% Astra Militarum in all 3. And it turns out this is the only one where Astra Militarum is close to the halfway. So I don't know what the perceptions in the world are about Astra Militarum in teams, but it seems to be on the decline, which is very surprising to me.
Speaking anecdotally with some guard players, and this is completely anecdotal, they seem to all come to the conclusion that for their best tricks, they've kind of been solved for already. So, they aren't able to pull off some of their combos of, the Sentinel or firing into combat with demolishers or things like that. Everyone's kind of got it figured out. And so some of their tech people are playing around.
That's fair. That is fair. Because, I mean, it's been Combined Regiment or Hammer of the Emperor for the vast majority of the edition, right? And so there's kind of hasn't been any new kind of spice added to that pile since the Codex came out. The Codex has been out for 5 months already. So yeah, you're right. It might be that Astra Militarum players need to go and dig up some more spice, some more tech.
I mean, they got 300 data slates in that Codex.
Exactly right. Yeah.
They got a couple options.
Might just take a couple weeks to regroup.
Yeah. Demons having great numbers across this one as well. Imperial Knights also having great numbers. Custodies just seem to be the team's list to take, though. Like, if you don't know what to tell your mate to play, tell him to play his Custodies army. That
You can
seems to be
paint
the
that in a
message.
week as well, you know,
Yeah.
for the most part, if you got the models.
Yep. And also, you know a mate who has one on his shelf. He's not playing. Just borrow that one. Yeah. But for the detachment breakdown that I did, of course, it was Death Guard. And once again, I expected to see one detachment taken over and above, similar to World Eaters. But we have a perfect split here on 4 different detachments. 2 of them being taken by 4 players each, and two being taken by 1 player each. 4 were Virulent Victorum. 4 were Mortarian's Hammer. A single Champions of Contagion and a single Shamble-Rot Victorum, Paul. Just for you. Getting your Poxwalkers on. But the Virulent Victorum, of course, is the Berserker Warband. It's the reskinned index attachment. Mortarian's Hammer, though, is one that I keep expecting to see pop off in teams.
Me too.
That's the one where you sit back and you point at 2 of your opponent's units that aren't within 12 inches of your army, and they are infected. They are in contagion. It activates the, deep strike and 6-inch charge on the Death Shroud. Exactly right. In addition to doing an innumerable amount of other mind games with your opponent and other bits and pieces. It's also the one that's very beneficial to take hulls. So it's very good for your Plague Burst Crawls, very good for your Predators and things like that. So it is a very good team's archetype to just be like, here's my Death Guard army. It's very thick in like toughness and hull. And then I also have got, 12 plus Death Shroud just waiting in the wings for you to try me. Just try me, mate.
I think we saw Don Hoosen playing that detachment in Dallas this past weekend, who's a well-known Death Guard enthusiast.
He made the top 10 out of the near 300 players, 8 rounds. I think he only dropped 1 round for the event.
That's
so he did very well. But yeah, that is that break you down, lads. So it's my turn to pick first.
Yeah, it is.
Death Guard.
Well, that worked out.
Hey.
Yeah.
So that would be Paul next.
Oh my goodness. What do I want? This is a lot of riding on the line right now. For this one.
Yeah.
The month is riding on the line. So for people who don't know, we track our picks like week by week, and we give ourselves points for, if we pick a podium, if we guess first place, we get 3 points, second place is 2 points, third place is 1 point. If none of us have a pick in the top 3, whoever has the first pick out of the top 10 gets 1 point as a little
even
consolation.
If it's the 10th spot.
Yeah, you got a point for the 10th spot for these. Yeah.
Yeah, we're picking in team events. It's the faction that has the highest battle points.
Exactly right, because there's going to be a bunch of undefeated players, but we need to pick the one that's going to put up the hundreds, the hungies. That's going to go straight to the stars. So
I'm going demons again.
That's fair.
I don't think that's a bad call, Dustin.
Imperial Knights.
Okay, not bad either. How interesting! Like 6 months ago, you couldn't have paid me to pick Imperial Knights.
Yeah.
And now we're just like, you don't know what to take? Imperial Knights.
Yep, I have no idea. Imperial Knights looks good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
now,
very nice.
One more breakdown.
One more breakdown. Am I switching the slide? Is that what you're waiting for?
Like, are we
Yeah,
do we have to do a dance or something?
Do we a dance? Yeah, okay. I don't know the choreography.
It's the final break. Oh, we'll get demonetized. No, I can't do that.
Don't do
that. But I have combined all 3 of those faction breakdowns for you, totaling 330 players and a combined 66 teams of 5. And Dustin, take it away.
Okay, here it is. All 3 events combined. So this is technically 66 teams. So we'll be really curious if any of them even come close to the halfway mark of 33, because this is different, 3 different, completely different metas, different parts of the world, right? So let's see what it looks like. Imperial Superfaction, there's still only 3 Sisters of Battle, 26 Custodes. That's close. 5 Admech, 16 Astra Militarum, 12 Great Knights, 22 Imperial Knights, Space Marines, there's 15 Adeptus Astartes, 7 Dark Angels, 3 Space Wolves, 9 Blood Angels, 3 Black Templar, and 3 Death Watch. Chaos, there's 14 Chaos Space Marines, 2 T-Suns, 24 Death Guard. That's still less than Custodes. That's insane. Then 18 World Eaters, 18 Emperor's Children, 20 Demons, 15 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 18 Necrons and 11 Orcs, 11 Tau, and 9 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 16 Tyranids, 5 GC cults. Then Eldari, there is 8 Drukhari and 20 Eldari, meaning the faction podium across all of these team events this weekend is the total of Astartes, topping it off at 40 technically, so that is over the 3% mark. Not really too surprising there. Custodes at 26, Death Guard at 24, Imperial Knights at 22, Demons and Eldari at 20, and then Krons, Emperor's Children, and World Eaters at 18.
So despite our individual faction breakdowns being pretty good, most of the time we had 5 or more factions represented on our top 3s and 11 for one of the events. Our compiled faction podium is actually much more like step down stratified, where the only place we have more than we have to get to 4th place to get more than one army, one faction on the podium.
That's still 8 factions in the
yeah, it still is. It's still pretty healthy. The Custodes being more than the Death Guard is, like I said, just is Custodes just the default team's army?
I do think this is skewed slightly because of the team's environment, like the team's format of these 3 things. I don't think the Custodes would be in the top spot, except for the teams. Like it's reliable.
Yeah,
like in a Custodes,
100%.
you could say, hey, just play solid, don't get shot a lot, and maybe you'll pull out a draw.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Don't get shot a lot.
Don't get shot
Great
a lot.
strategy. Great strategy.
Yeah. I can't wait to be on a team with Paul one day. He just come by and be like, Adam, don't get shot a lot.
Yeah, stop getting shot.
Like literally, like halfway through the game, hey, Adam, you're getting shot. They're rolling dice at you. How are you letting this happen?
Why? Why are you letting them roll dice at you?
I told you not to get shot.
You can win if you just don't let your opponent roll dice. That's
Imperial Knights is the shocker. So Imperial Knights taken exactly at 1/3 of teams this freaking world over. We have Heartland Europe, the UK, and the United States on this in this geographical compilation. And yeah, Imperial Knights taken in strong numbers pretty much the world over, in sitting in our 3rd position on this faction breakdown. So very surprising there. And Eldari, actually not as many as I would have thought. But once again, I think everyone's starting to clue on that Eldari actually, I don't know, is that strong in teams.
Yeah, it's not the greatest teams list. It's just an all-comers. It's a list that if you bring to a team, you put it in anything, right? Generally speaking.
Exactly right. Well, in singles, like Eldari can beat anything by 5 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can't beat many things by 35 points. And so that's actually not what you want in teams. You want the thing that wins by 35 points, or you want the thing that can't be beaten by 35 points. And so yeah, and Eldari is kind of neither of those, which is very interesting. As for the Astartes breakdown, Blood Angels is the 2nd most taken, apart from Vanilla Astartes, which is what I expect, but with Dark Angels on their heels with 7 versus 9, and then Chaos Super Faction. Very strong numbers for World Eaters and Emperor's Children, and extremely strong numbers for both Demons and Chaos Knights, both taken in really strong numbers. I mean, there was 22 Imperial Knights. There's still 15 Chaos Knights. So if you did a total Knights, it was what, 37? 32. No, 37. And that is a lot. That's a lot of knightage.
It's a lot of knightage.
A lot. Dig it. Well, what an interesting tale from 3 different areas for what are similar format events, but still radically different in how the events are going to be played, which is one of the fascinating things about Warhammer.
Well, we assume that one of these is on UKTC terrain, one of these is on Games Workshop terrain, and one of these is very likely to be on WTC terrain. So this is 3 completely different terrain formats. And that's another reason I thought this was going to be so interesting as well, because this is the 3 main terrain formats of our game. And all being represented, all being played in the same format, but in different places in the world. So I thought it was a very good snapshot.
That's pretty cool. I like this.
I'm glad that Chad is agreeing that not getting shot is a very solid Custodes strategy.
Yep.
You did it. You cracked it.
Cracked it. That's the code, everybody. We know.
So look, when you're over there getting shot, and you'd be like, "What happened?"
Shouldn't have let him do that. Shouldn't have let him do that. That's it. See that thing? See that bit where he rolled the dice?
The moment that he picks up the dice, I messed up.
That's the mistake right there.
My opponent's allowed to roll dice.
Oh.
I messed up.
Well, good luck out there of everyone that is playing. Look, if you're just joining us, that's like the Warhammer 40,000 stuff of the show that we did. Please consider hitting the like button, subscribe, the bell, all the stuff that you're supposed to do to interact with the show, to tell the algorithms, to have other people come and do the same thing. Already saw some new faces in the chat, so thanks a lot for coming and joining us there. We're going to sponsor ourselves right now. Consider joining us over on Patreon. Every tier is awesome. A lot of effort goes into putting this show together, and that's one way to show support of the show outside of the other hassle-free ways that I just mentioned. But level 2 and above over on the Patreon gets you access to a part 2 of the show where we do a look back at what we talked about and who won. We note the top 10. We pull out some notable lists. We banter and make fun of each other. It's like a hallmark of another little way for us to get together and bring some of that joy and insight from 40K events all around the world to y'all. Consider doing that. We just put up part 2 from last week's episode yesterday. So, you can string a few things together, meta chasing content as you get ready for the weekend. But here's the part of the show where we get sometimes a little silly. This next part is a palate cleanser after we've been talking about the hard stats, the numbers, the meta, the wins, the losses. We have a segment we call the Wake and Repeato. This segment sometimes has very little to do with Warhammer 40K. It is more of just us rattling off the hottest takes over a period of time. We give ourselves a clock sometimes once that clock hits 0, although we haven't done that in a while because we've been kind of living in the topic a little bit. Yeah, had to let these breathe a bit. But once that clock stops, or we've talked about that topic, we never return to it again unless it's demanded by the Patreon subscribers. Then we'll think about it. But what's the topic this week?
Topic this week is the last of the preliminaries for our genres in movies. It is the thriller genre to round it off.
Excellent.
And then the next show, we pit the winners of all the 8 genres that we did cover against each other to find out what is the greatest movie of all time according to the Meta Chasers. So
we're also canvassing for what we should do next for the greatest of.
Greatest of. Right now, video games is the leading one, but we could do TV shows, we could do music, we could do all kinds of things. So if the chat has, or any of our patrons have any suggestions, please.
We could do food.
We could do food. Ooh, that's a good one too.
We could do meals, like the greatest meals of all.
That's a good one.
Hamburgers are going all the way. So I will say though that this gets even spicier because these are randomly seated against each other. So it's how the brackets filter out against each other that some of like the awesome choices where they pitted against another opponent later in the bracket, they might have either done better or not done as well than we have ranked them because of how they felt. There's been some.
I don't think there's any that have been eliminated that should have won though. It's still still like the winner of all these. I think is still deserving the winner. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Paul disagrees.
Right?
All right, let's crack in. Let's
find
out.
Let's do it. Yeah. The final of the preliminaries. Thriller genre, let's go. Round 1, 7 versus Primal Fear.
It's 7. What's in the box?
It's
7.
Primal Fear is quite a good film, but 7 is incredible.
In Primal Fear, that's Ed Norton in it, right?
Yeah.
There's a twist in that movie that you don't necessarily see coming. I don't think in there, and that gets you some points, and of course, well acted all around. But like 7's quotable,
a fantastic story, a fantastic. Well, both of them, I would say, the strongest parts of them is that their cast was superb for both.
Yes,
Richard Gere as a lawyer is actually just kind of perfection as like a bullish American lawyer, fan freaking tastic. And for there is not one miss in the 7 cast. It's all perfect. But 7 wins for me, hands down.
Oh yeah, that's a 3-0. I don't think there's a single vote in chat for Primal Fear either.
There's some props to the actors, which we know.
Okay,
we'll
take that.
I mean, Primal Fear put Edward Norton on the map.
That's true. That's true.
Really did.
All right, next up, Interview with a Vampire versus Leon the Professional.
Oh my god, this is 2 of my faves. This is 2 of my all-time faves. Crap.
Are these thrillers?
We had to put some of them in some categories that they might not belong because we need to get them in here. All right.
Yeah.
Thriller was the most generic one to end on because we could throw a couple in here that were missed in other ones.
Well acted all around, of course.
Greg,
And Gary Oldman is like he's the meme. Is like when you've been living your whole life and you turn around and you realize you're being played by Gary Oldman. That's how
you're
good of
Gary
an actor
Oldman the whole time.
he is.
Look.
That meme is from this movie. Or from Leon the Professional, if I remember right?
I am voting for Leon the Professional, and I adore both of these films.
I'm voting for Interview with the Vampire.
Interview with the Vampire does win it, though.
You punks! I'm not unhappy.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So, I mean, Interview with the Vampire is like when like Louis' special ability, his vampire power is that he's like human.
He's empathy. Yeah, he has empathy.
Empathy,
He can still. He's undead, but he can still relate to things. Yeah.
But then, of course, being played by Brad Pitt and what Christian Slater is there is the interviewer, and like
dude had what's his name? Yeah, Tom Cruise was in
Tom
it
Cruise
as well.
just being Tom Cruise.
Who was what's his face? The other one.
Armand Antonio Banderas.
Armand. Yes.
That is not Armand from the books, but hey,
No,
whatever. They made a good movie, so
no, it is not Armand from the books. But yeah, man, you're breaking my heart, boys. Leon the Professional.
It's okay. It's going against 7 next. Let's be real here. Okay.
It's fair.
All right, next up, Silence of the Lambs versus Psycho.
Damn.
Silence of the Lambs for me. I'm going in early.
If we're going with infinitely quotable Silence of the Lambs and Anthony Hopkins, takes it, but you don't get these movies without Psycho. So Psycho gets my vote.
Psycho's my vote as well, actually.
Yeah.
Psycho literally birthed this whole genre and leveled up all of cinematography, completely leveled up all of it to a whole new level of how to generate suspense and pace. The use and weaponization of the soundtrack as well. Like it was the first soundtrack that just like racked souls. So I'm going with Psycho.
And there was a period of time where if like memes existed, they would have memed Psycho they would ground. I mean, like
wouldn't hurt a fly.
Yeah. all the mother stuff, like
and look, Silence of the Lambs is a perfect film, like legitimately perfect film, but it would not exist without Psycho.
What's your vote, Paul? Was it Psycho?
It's definitely Psycho.
Yeah,
Psycho.
we 2-1 to Psycho. This one breaks my heart as well. Silence of the Lambs is gosh damn incredible.
I'm a little upset about that one, but okay. All right. Psycho moves on 2-1.
Oh, then he's like, there are no upsets. Everything's good. And he's like,
no,
that's this one.
No, I said no upsets on the winners. On the winner. Although I actually don't know who wins this. I'm not going to lie. So we're going to find out. Next up, Usual Suspects versus Taken.
No chance for Taken. Usual Suspects.
Yeah, although it's like Taken had, I have a particular set of skills,
if you want to talk about the memes, sure.
It's good. It's I don't know how you get to Taken 3 and 4. Like who keeps taking?
No, that was
Like
I don't understand how we talk about how they keep making Hugh Jackman play Wolverine, but don't talk about the 20-year older Liam Neeson. Like they won't let him stop. People keep taking his stuff.
He is spectacular. But Usual Suspects is
a perfect.
Looks like Chad agrees with that one too. We're good to go on that one.
Because you didn't when Usual Suspects came out, you didn't expect any of that stuff. I don't think.
No. Okay. Next up, Sleepy Hollow versus Bone Collector.
This is a good one. This is a very good one. See, I was always of the opinion Sleepy Hollow was a little tongue-in-cheek. Like there was
it is
playfulness whilst being in like essentially shot in grayscale.
I mean,
in this terrifying thing. Bone Collector had
it's got Denzel Washington, right?
Denzel and Angelique and that film was fan freaking tastic. I think I'm going with Sleepy Hollow though in a close one.
As far as like thriller goes, I think I gotta go Bone Collector, but
that's fair. Yeah, that is fair.
I want Sleepy Hollow.
I'm not torn up either way. Sleepy Hollow for me was like by minute because it's one that I would watch. I can watch that on repeat. Whereas now I've watched The Bone Collector. Like I think I've watched it twice ever.
That's actually a good.
That's a good way to do it, and it's actually the same for me too.
That's what I mean. If they're equal, like quality movies in my estimation, I go with the one I'd want to watch more.
Yeah, which it's for Sleepy Hollows for me too. So yeah,
can't argue with that. Can't argue with that vote.
Yeah,
2-1.
Denzel's such a great actor. If he comes up in this,
Denzel can do no wrong. Like I can't tell you, I can't tell you a bad Denzel Washington film.
All right, next up, Hunt for Red October versus I Am Legend.
I'm actually quite a fan.
Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, me too.
Hunt for Red October.
That was a fantastic novel, in addition to being a well-adapted book that they hit the nail on the head.
Was it Alec Baldwin decided he did not want to be an action movie star, and so gave up playing Jack Ryan, and that's when Harrison Ford came in for Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games. I love all of those movies, and I like the Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games better than Hunt for Red October. But Hunt for October is amazing.
As in because there is a genre of like that espionage kind.
It's the same author.
Pseudo Cold War. Exactly right. Yeah, and then there's like the Pelican Brief and stuff like that are also of a similar nature. But I Am Legend. The reason I didn't like I Am Legend is because it like really went nowhere near the source material. The whole premise, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the whole premise for
it's been out for 20 years.
The whole premise for I Am Legend is that the human ends up actually being the bad guy. The kind of mutated humans view the last surviving human who's just trying to get by and live as the boogeyman of their existence. And you never got that perspective at all. And that was the whole like shtick of
All right, that's the 3.
I do agree. Harrison Ford was the best Jack Ryan. I do completely agree with that. And you get Sean Bean in one of those, if I remember right, too. He doesn't make it.
He doesn't make it.
All right. Next,
that's not a spoiler because Sean Bean rarely makes it.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 or 3, maybe.
He refuses to take roles now where he doesn't make it anymore.
Next one, Sixth Sense versus Clear and Present Danger.
Oh my goodness! I just went on about Clear and Present Danger, and I do think it's a better movie. But the twist in Sixth Sense, it's like.
Yeah, Sixth Sense has zero rewatchability because of the twist. Yeah, and that is a hallmark of M. Night Shyamalan. And also the fact that this was the literal peak. His first like major film was the peak of his career.
Yeah,
I can't tell you a single other film that he's made that I feel like I could watch. Clear and Present Danger is a good time, and it's
I
one
love
of those
that
great
film.
suspense thrillers. And yeah, I'm voting for that.
Yeah, if you only watch each one of them once, I would go Sixth Sense, but
correct.
Yeah,
it's no rewatchability.
No rewatchability. So I think that's a 3-0 for Clear and Present, and it looks like Chad is pretty much agreeing with it. Yeah, majority's agree.
That box set of the Hunt for October of DVDs or whatever is in the past.
All right, and the last one in the thriller category for round 1. Donnie Darko versus Inception.
Damn.
Okay, this is like a real question.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all legitimately like Donnie Darko?
That's a good question.
I'm not putting any slant on it.
When I was growing up, the only way to be truly uncool was to not say you liked Donnie Darko. I can't sit here and tell you that it's a bad film, but I can sit here and tell you that I didn't love it. It smelt its own farts real hard. Funnily enough, very similar to Inception. It was very all up in its own business about how awesome, cool, and like dark and moody the shit was.
Look, I'm gonna say this boldly. I don't think either one of these are making it out of next round. So
no, it's true.
You can burn this vote.
I do think Inception was a mind-bending enigma of a concept of a film, and I applaud the audacity of it and the ambition of it to try and make that film make sense. And also, once again, did cinematography that was mind-bending, ingenious, and like that. And I think it is a better film. So I'm going to go for Inception.
So we'll go 3-0 Inception, but let's be real. That's.
I didn't vote. Are you incepting my vote?
I'm incepting it. I accepted your vote.
You abstained, man. You're like none of these.
It doesn't matter. You want to give Darko one then?
No, I do not.
Oh, well, I accepted it already. We know. We know. All Okay. On to round 2. So let's start off with 7 versus Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, I'm going for 7. But
Me
Interview
too.
with the Vampire is superb.
I've got to go 7.
For thrillers, it's got to be 7. Like,
It's got to be 7.
It's got to
Yeah.
be 7.
I mean, it had there's like, yeah, for all the reasons you know. Like, I don't want to spoil anything.
How many of the Anne Rice films did they proceed to make? Because I know there's Queen of the Damned. Did they make any further after that?
There is a Vampire Lestat.
Yep.
And then there's Queen of the Damned.
Yeah. Which one did Lestat just like decide to become a rock star in?
That was in Queen of the Damned.
Man, how they went from this film to that film is astounding to me.
All right.
Yeah,
That's
7. I think 3-0. 3-0, right? I was 2-1.
That was a 3-1. 3-0. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Psycho versus Usual Suspects.
So we're going with the genesis of the thriller genre to I think one of the best films you can watch. I'm going to go Usual Suspects.
I know my vote. I'm going to wait for Paul.
I think Usual Suspects as well.
Yeah, it's Usual Suspects for me too.
It's just incredible film.
I can't do any of the quotes because this is a PG show, but
no, that's probably a good idea. Probably a good idea. Chat is agreeing with us too, so that's but Psycho.
You don't have any of this. This genre doesn't exist.
We salute
genre
you.
doesn't exist without Psycho.
Yep. Next one, Sleepy Hollow versus Hunt for Red October.
For thrill, I'm going to go Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, Hunt for October is such a.
Also
it's a satisfying movie too. You know,
there's even quotes. There's quotes by Alec Baldwin in this film being like, when I heard who the cast was, I was like, oh, it's a bunch of washed up. Like I'm worried about having to do all the heavy lifting here. And then he rocks up next to Sean Connery and does his first scenes with him. And he's like, oh, I'm a minnow. I am a small fish in this pond. And yeah.
That is a 3-0. Chad is in complete agreement.
I can't remember. Yeah. Does Sean Connery even like try to sound Russian in the whole thing? I can't.
He's like the English Russian.
I think that's how you tell which scenes were shot first because it probably peters out towards the end.
The next one. Clear and Present Danger versus Inception. Do I even need to ask for this one?
No.
Clear and Present Danger.
Like, there's no world that Inception even gets a vote against Clear and Present Danger. Just none. Okay. So now we get to some harder ones. Semifinals. 7 versus Usual Suspects.
God diggity damn.
It's 7 for thriller. 7.
I'm gonna give a vote to Usual Suspects, but I expect 7 to win.
It's 7 is winning. I'm not letting that.
I gave Usual Suspects a vote because it doesn't deserve to be 3-0.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
but 7 is absolutely winning that. That does affect if 7 wins this. It affects its seeding in the championship. So I will mention that.
Interesting. Yeah, everyone's going with 7.
Yeah, 7. Ooh, we got a Usual Suspect. Okay,
we got one Usual Suspect.
It's a great movie. Like
it is.
If 7 didn't have that flip at the end where you're like, oh, is this really happening? Is this really, really happening? And that level of of danger and the thriller part of the thriller category.
Yeah, of course. Okay. All right. Then Hunt for Red October versus Clear and Present Danger.
Clear and Present Danger.
I've got October.
Oh,
I got to give Clear and Present Danger.
It's my preference.
I actually don't know.
I like Red October because it's got a bit less America going on, which I respect. It tells two sides of a story, and it's more than just you know what I mean. I feel like a lot of those films can get very caught up in the Americanness. Whereas Red October
about an American spy, cool, American, it's like the whole structure.
I know, but you know what I mean. I feel like Red October adds another facet to the usual like linear aspect of this.
Harrison Ford and Jack Ryan it's the best. Jack Ryan,
is it though? Is it? Because I'm going for Hunt for Red October.
I don't hate that.
Yeah.
But. I mean, honestly, I told you that I do feel I love both of those movies, so it's
But yeah, Clear and Present Danger Absolutely deserves it.
It's
though, so
very good.
Yeah.
That's
It had a little bit more of a developing plot that made you care about the crescendo slightly more than Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, Hunt for
That's why I
October
gave it a
was much more front loaded, right? You pretty much knew the idea within what the concept of the entire film's plot was unveiled in the first kind of 20 minutes, but then it kept you like on a journey trying to figure out how it's actually going to come together. And I suppose, yeah, that's fair. It didn't have a big crescendo like reveal at the end or anything like that. It was more of just, we know where the end line is, but how are we going to get there?
Right. Okay. This is it. The finals. 7 versus Hunt for Red October.
Yeah.
Right?
7 for this genre. On in another category. This might be different.
I'm holding up the fingers. It's 7.
Yeah.
Are we going to 3-0 though?
Oh yeah, 7 good.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a 3-0. Unless chat comes in overwhelmingly with a Hunt to give it a vote, I'm going 3-0 for 7.
We got 1 for Hunt. We got another.
That is not overwhelming.
But Harrison was not too old for Jack Ryan. Come on. But this was 100 years ago they produced these films.
Actually, yeah. When was Clear and Pleasant Danger made? Like,
he was old. He seemed old at the time. He seemed old in Star Wars for us.
He did. 1994 was Clear and Present Danger.
Oh wow.
Hunt for October was 1990. There you go.
See, it's pretty much the same then, right? Yeah. All right. I think that's that. That's a 3-0 for 7 in the championships there. So there we have it. We have our top 8 for the genres for the grand championships next time.
Next week is going to be
gonna be rough.
Brutal.
It's going to be brutal.
I'm not ready.
All right, everybody, bring your helmets and your box of Kleenex.
There's going to be tears.
Rough, and there's
going to be tears.
Somebody's favorite is not making it.
Yeah, it may be the last episode we ever do because there may be no reconciling. There's no coming back from whatever's going to happen.
Oh my goodness. Oh well, thanks for checking us out. If you did make it here live, thank you so much for hanging out with us in chat. We have an amazing, awesome chat community. Love coming and doing this every single week. Don't forget to hit those subscribe buttons. Leave us 5-star reviews. I don't think I've asked for that recently. If you have not left us 5-star reviews, or maybe go to another platform, leave us a 5-star review over there. If you already have, we really appreciate it. Those are absolutely hassle-free ways to interact and show some support. We really appreciate it. Y'all do that right now. I'll wait a second. Thank you for doing it.
And you're back, yes.
Yeah, so thank you for doing it. We will be back next week, everybody. We'll see y'all soon. Have a great night. Good luck out there. Roll 6s. Don't get shot. No, stay off.
It's like we salute you.